Hi everyone, and welcome to another speed build, or more accurately, speed renovation, because today I'm going to be sharing a renovation of one of the first builds I made after The Sims 4 came out. And I just decided to do this because I was thinking recently about how we've gotten a good bit of new content since this game came out, and how we've had stuff patched in like the Move Objects cheat and pools and basements, although I didn't end up using all those things in this build, but those are all things that are really handy for building. I definitely did make really good use of the Move Objects cheat in this renovation though, but the house I chose to update was the Cape Cod Charmer build, which I think was the third or fourth build I made for The Sims 4. I think it was actually the fourth, but I just chose this one because I actually liked the base of the house, like the structure of it. It's very simple, but it also looks really cozy and realistic, so I felt like it would be an easy build to just transform and make a lot better. So the first thing I did was I just turned it around on the lot, because as you may have seen at the beginning of the video, it was kind of facing out towards the river, which was just a really weird way to have this build situated on the lot. And I did that originally because this was a build that I made for my base game Let's Play, and when I was making the builds to use in that series, I was just building them on the empty lots that were in Willow Creek rather than deleting homes and building them on that. And by the time I got to this house, the only remaining empty lot was that one, I think it was Bargain Bend or something like that. It was the one in the cheaper neighborhood. So I just built it on that. And yeah, it was just very weirdly situated because the whole depth of the house took up the whole, I guess, like width of the lot or whatever. Basically, you just had no space behind the back deck, so all of the yard was to the side of the house, which is just really weird. So it definitely fits in so much better when you have the house, when you have the front of the house along the more narrow part of the lot. And as I was going through this build, there was just so many other places where I was like, why did I do this? This does not work well at all, but I'll get to those as we go on. So at this point, I have redone the color scheme of the outside of the build. So originally it was just green and white, like I had green siding and then I had green shutters against the green siding. So while it was nice and bright, there wasn't really a lot of, I guess, contrast. It all just kind of blended together, but I really like this color scheme a lot more. Like, I just like how the red shutters and door looks against the blue siding, and I actually am a fan of combining blues and reds together. For some reason, that color scheme just looks really good to me. And also, thanks to the Move Objects cheat, I could do the landscaping a little better too and just get the plants in closer together. And then we also have the new plants from the Romantic Garden Stuff Pack, so I made use of those because, yeah, when I originally did this build, we didn't have the Move Objects cheat, so you just had to space the plants far enough apart from each other to where you could actually place them down, so you just couldn't get as lush looking landscaping, which was rather unfortunate. And another thing was that, as you may have noticed in the beginning of the build, the windows on the dormers on the upper floor were the small windows, but fortunately because of the Move Objects cheat, I could place in the larger windows, because I'm pretty sure I didn't do that originally because you just couldn't really fit in the larger ones, like it was just too close to the roof. But yeah, fortunately we can do that now. And the shorter windows just definitely didn't look good because you had all the siding below them and above them. It just didn't really fit in that well. So it was really fun to work on this build and just kind of be like, oh, hey, I can do this now because of the Move Object cheat, or because we have this object or whatever. And yeah, I just feel like this build really turned out so much better because of it. Like, the landscaping already looks a lot nicer. And also my style of building has changed a bit since the game first came out, because when it came out, I just didn't really know what I was doing. We're also a lot more limited with objects, so there's a lot less to work with. And I've definitely gotten a lot more practice over the past almost 3 years, yeah, because it released September 2014. So yeah, almost 3 years ago. So I've just gotten a lot of practice with building since then, so I've definitely improved quite a bit. And yeah, hopefully I will continue to improve, but I guess it would have been better if I renovated my first ever Sims 4 build, but I just really liked this house a lot more. I felt like it was a lot easier to work with and to make look more decent, because, I don't know, the first build I made wasn't bad, but it was just a lot plainer than this build. But I don't know, maybe for the anniversary of, like, the 3-year anniversary of The Sims 4 coming out, I'll renovate that build or something like that. But I don't know, the build was just a mess, so I guess, I don't know, the build was alright, but the video I made it in was a mess, because for my first build, I didn't do a speed build, I did a first impressions Let's Build instead. And some of you may remember that, but it was just awful because I thought it would be a great idea to go in the day I got the game and record a Let's Build, having never messed around with the building tools in The Sims 4 myself. So it was just an awful video, and it took me like half an hour to just like build the square for the house because I had no clue what I was doing and I was just screwing up. And I think I made the house and then screwed up so badly I had to delete it and redo it. And the video for it is just, it's just awful. I mean, I guess some people enjoyed it and it was kind of okay at the time because a lot of people were trying to figure out how to build in The Sims 4 because, like I said, it was just release day, but I still cringe so much looking back at that whole series. And there was like people leaving comments asking me if I'd ever played any Sims game before. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, people just thought I hadn't ever played any Sims game before, and I was just going in and doing my first ever build in any Sim game, you know, without having practice at all. So yeah, that kind of tells you how bad it was. But I mean, the build in the end wasn't atrocious. It was just, I don't know, I could do a lot better now than I could back then. But speaking of Let's Builds, it's been a while since I've done one, and I've gotten a few questions recently asking me if I'm going to start another one soon. And I am planning on starting another one soon, probably in a month or so, because there's only about 3 parts left of my Vampires Let's Play, so once that ends, I'm going to start a Let's Build series. And I was thinking that for the next one, I could build a family home based off of a floor plan, because in my Parenthood build that I made like a month or so ago, I was saying how if you're just starting out with building, that making homes based off of floor plans can be a good way to get the hang of making layouts and also scaling the builds, because something I struggled with when I first started building was that I tended to make builds way too big, and then I had these huge rooms that I was trying to fill with furniture and just looked really awkward. So yeah, building off of floor plans definitely helped with that, but I got a few comments from people saying that even when they try building based off of floor plans, they still have some trouble with getting the layout right or getting the scaling right. So I thought it'd be good to just do a Let's Build series where I take a floor plan, I make a home based off of it, and I could show the process of how I go about doing that, because, you know, it can get tricky sometimes when trying to convert the dimensions to the sim. So yeah, I thought it'd be good to just kind of show how I go about that. And I was thinking I could do stuff like editing in a picture of the floor plan so you kind of see it on the screen as I'm making the house and see what I'm going off of. So yeah, I think that'll be fun. And I definitely want to do a style with this next Let's Build that I'm a little more comfortable with, because the last one was that penthouse Let's Build, and that was just a style that I wasn't really that comfortable building. Like, it's just not a style I'm good with, and I feel like with Let's Builds, it's just easier if I do a style that I'm more comfortable with, because the last one, I, you know, had a little bit of trouble figuring things out. So because of that, I honestly didn't really enjoy recording the parts a lot of the time, and yeah, that's part of why I haven't had a Let's Build up in a few months, and I don't want that to happen again. So I really just want to do a style of build that I really enjoy, and I tend to do really well with family homes. So yeah, that's why I'm going to do that. But anyway, we are on to the interior now, and as you may have noticed, the interior of this build was originally very dark. But with this renovation, I want to do something different than that, have a very bright build, and also this house was originally made for some friends and, you know, a couple of roommates, so I wanted to instead make a house for a small family. So upstairs we've got a bedroom for the parents, and then the other bedroom is for a child and a toddler, so you can fit up to a family of 4. And yeah, here in the living room we've got the bright teal wallpaper and the yellow couch. And with the living room area, I wanted to make it a little bit brighter, more colorful, as if it was kind of furnished like that for the kids who maybe are really into bright colors. And also, I just imagine this as being maybe the first house that a couple would buy to start a family in. So I imagine that it's a younger couple and they're maybe into a more youthful style for the home rather than, you know, a fancy suburban home kind of feel to it, like what I did with that, the Parenthood build I made. So yeah, I just want to do something a little different with this house. Plus, I also wanted to try some colors that I guess I wouldn't usually use in builds, because usually I don't put bright colors up on the walls in living areas. Or at least not as much as I did in this. So I was kind of trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit with this build. And yeah, in the end, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And also, I did arrange the living room a bit better this time, because at first, I had like a 2-seater couch in that corner where that bookshelf is, and then the TV was where that one yellow plant that's next to the TV is, and it was just kind of diagonally facing across the room to the couch that was in the corner. And it was just a really awkward layout because you had all this space in the middle of the room, and then there's just like awkward space behind the couch, and there was a wall with nothing on it. But yeah, I definitely made a better use of space this time. And yeah, because we got that living room, the couch situated in that one area, then the rest of it is kind of like, I imagine it's sort of a kid's reading area and play area, although there isn't really much toys back there, although there's a few toys on the coffee table. But yeah, now we're on to the kitchen, so I just made use of the Parenthood counters and cabinets because I really love those cabinets. I'm probably going to be using them in so many builds from now on. I'm pretty sure I've said that before too. But I just love how bright this kitchen turned out. It's definitely a huge change from the darker kitchen that we had originally, because originally I just used the darker cabinets. There wasn't a whole lot of light in here, so this, like, the build how it looks now is just a huge change from what it was before. And I didn't end up changing the layout because the house actually had a pretty good layout, although I did think about moving the kitchen over to the dining room, like the back part of it where there aren't any windows, because whenever I furnish kitchens in areas where I use those 2-tile wide windows with the shutters, I end up getting really frustrated because it's really hard to center sinks and stuff under the windows, and I always feel like the sinks have to be perfectly centered under the windows, and I actually cut out a bit where I was trying to make the kitchen with the sink and the stove centered under a window, but yeah, I ended up having to scrap that because I was just overlapping counters and I was using the shorter end pieces to try to get to fit in right, and I was just worried that it wouldn't even be functional and that it just looked weird, so yeah, I just kind of had to deal with the sink being partially under the window, but I mean, I guess it's better to do that and have a fully functional kitchen than to just be overlapping things, and because yeah, I think weird stuff happens when you just go overlapping counters, so yeah, figured it probably was best to not do that, but I did stick the stove over where it is now instead of under a window, so I at least only had to deal with one thing being partially centered, although I mean, it probably is better the stove's over there instead of under window, because usually you wouldn't have stoves under windows anyway. I mean, I don't think, I haven't really been in a kitchen where the stove was under the window, so I don't think it's something that's typically done, because usually you have the vent hood over the stove, and then if you had that under a window, it kind of blocked the window a little bit, so yeah, I guess it worked out a little better anyway. But we are on to the dining room, and with the dining room, I decided to go for a more mature look than I did in the living area, because I just see the dining room as being a little bit more of a formal area, although I still did add in a few pops of colors here and there to kind of tie it in with the rest of the living area. And also, I did lay this out a little differently, because at first, originally, I just had a table this size centered in the room, so you just had this little table centered in this big room with all this area around it, and it just didn't really seem like a good use of space. And also, this is just such a small house that I don't think it's really necessary to have a 3-tile long table in it. Like, there's just not that many people living here, so I just don't think it's necessary. So what I did instead was I just stuck the dining table over in this area where the windows are, so it's kind of, so the dining area is kind of in the same space that the kitchen is, like the same amount of space, and then I used the rest of the dining room to make a sort of study, because there really wasn't anywhere else in this house to fit in a study. So I just thought it'd be good to have this little area over here with a computer and a book, or actually no, I ended up not having a bookshelf in there because I just realized that there was too much going on when I had a bookshelf. So yeah, we're just getting a desk in there with a computer, and I do change this a lot. Like, I just try a bunch of different desks because I don't know, it's just when I build I can get really particular about things. Like, I just feel like I have to be completely happy with whatever I do, so I end up changing things a lot. So I think I tried like 3 or 4 different desks in here. I tried a bunch of bookshelves. I was trying to find the thing that looked just right. Like, this I changed because it just looks too cluttered. Like, you've got the bookshelf, and then you got the desk with all the boxes and the papers on it, and it looked way too cluttered for the space. I mean, I know it's a smaller home, so I was trying to make it have kind of a crammed together space, because I guess, you know, with a smaller home, you kind of have to cram things into spaces to get it to work, but it just didn't really fit in that well. Like, this, just like that bookshelf there, just looks like too much, so yep, eventually I just want to change that out for something else. But at this point, I was getting really frustrated with how the dining room was coming along, so I just took a break from that to work on the bathroom, because I don't know why, I just got so stuck on the interior of this house. I know from the video it doesn't look like it really took me that long, but there was a lot of doing stuff and then deciding I didn't like it and then redoing it, so it actually took me about 5 hours to furnish this house, which I know seems crazy because it's so small, but I was just really wanting to do the best I could, because this is a renovation, so I felt like I had to make sure it was absolutely better than how it was originally. Although, I guess I didn't really have to try that hard to do this because, this house, the furnishing wasn't really the greatest to begin with. I guess it was okay at the time, but yeah, looking back at it, yeah, it wasn't really the best. So yeah, I looked back and I was like, okay, I think it's safe to say this is definitely better than how it looked originally. But I just really wanted to just do my best with the renovation of this build and really make it a lot more improved than the original. But yeah, we're going back to the dining room and once again just rearranging things. So we got those bookshelves in there, trying to see how they look versus the old bookshelf. And then I went upstairs and did some stuff up here because I was just getting frustrated with it. But yeah, eventually I got it right and I realized that the solution, oh yeah, there's a weird thing with the roof up there where one of the walls was the roof itself, so I couldn't change the color of it without changing the whole roof on the outside. But yeah, anyway, this is what I ended up doing for the dining room. So there you go. Looks a lot better than having that bulky bookshelf there. So yeah, we are finally moving upstairs and starting things off up here with the master bedroom. Although I don't know if I'd really say this is a master bedroom. It's just kind of a bedroom because it's the exact same size as the other one, but I really wanted to give this bedroom kind of a glamorous feel, so I ended up using a lot of stuff from, well, I don't know if I really used a lot of stuff from vintage glamour stuff, but I ended up using some stuff from it, like the vanity and the wallpaper, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, I really think this room looks a lot better than it did originally because it was kind of plain originally. Like, I just had the basic base game furniture that we got, because I'm not really that happy with a lot of the base game furniture we got because so much of it was just blocky and boring and basic, which, I guess they did that to kind of play safe in the beginning of it, and then later on I don't know, I feel like they've definitely gotten a lot better with making more detailed and interesting looking items since the game first came out, so it was really cool to reflect on that with this build. And I don't know, I just enjoyed it so much because it kind of brought back memories of, the time when I was making the original video for this build and how things were when the game first came out, because we definitely gotten a lot better items for this build. We've gotten better clutter items and just more detailed items. It was definitely a lot more challenging to furnish homes back when just the base game came out. And I thought of doing a base game only build, but I don't know, I feel like I would just get really annoyed trying to make a house with only base game stuff at this point. But I guess that would be a really good test of how my building skills have come along, because I don't know, maybe now I could do a much better job with just base game stuff, but I don't know, I'm kind of hesitant to do that because I feel like I would just end up really frustrated by the lack of stuff to work with. But I don't know, maybe someday I'll do that. Although there's just so many builds that I want to do and not enough time. Like, I really just wish I had more time to build, but unfortunately I like to take my time with builds, so it takes me a while to finish them. Although I have been trying to get builds up more, I've been trying to get builds up more often recently. Like, I had a build up last week, I'm probably gonna have another build up next week. So I've been trying to go no more than 2 or 3 weeks without a build, so hopefully I can keep that up. But anyway, we're on to the kids' room now, and I know this color scheme is probably gonna be a little much for a lot of you. I know the electric purple is a little intense, but I just really imagine the kids who lived in this house as just liking bold colors. I don't know if I would exactly say that this is bright. I guess it kind of is. It's kind of a bright purple in a way. But I just really, once again, wanted to get out of my comfort zone a little bit in terms of what colors I use. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to try to use this color because I don't think that's a color I've ever used in builds. Like, it's not really my favorite color. It's not something I would personally want in a house, but yeah, it's always fun to use different colors and try new things. Although I could definitely understand if any of you want to just change the color scheme of this room after you download it. Like, yeah, if you don't like this color scheme, you can just go ahead and change the wall colors and the colors of the objects, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Oh, unfortunately, I did manage to fix that weird bit of wall where the siding was popping through because that was just annoying me a little bit. So yeah, at the end of the build, that is fine. I don't know why exactly that happened, but I just deleted the roof and put it back in. It was fine. Oh, I also realized that I had the wrong kind of roof there. Yeah, because I had that scallop roof originally, but I don't know. I just figured it'd be better to change it to something else. Plus, I tend to use that scalloped roof a lot. So I thought it'd be good to do something good to use something I use a little less often there. But yeah, at the end of this, I just went through and took some stuff out of the room, like that Lego table, because I know that's useful, but I felt like having that in the room was just cluttering up a little too much, so I just took away a few things to make the room look a little less cluttered, especially with the loud purple on the walls. I just felt like, you know, I should probably make that room a little less cluttered than it was, but anyway, we're done with that. So the last little bit of furnishing I do is this area out here in the hallway, which is just kind of a reading nook. But yeah, that's about the end of the build, so there'll be a link to download it in the description, other stuff in there, and how to find it in-game. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.